Welcome back. Researcher Etuhole Mutuleni recently completed a master's thesis at UNAM where she focused on the wild everlasting plant, a species known to be toxic to livestock. Her study aimed to pinpoint the natural compounds causing this toxicity with potential insights for managing its effects on animals. And today she joins us in studio to tell us more about her research and the effect it will have on this ongoing topic. Very good morning, Etuhole, and thank you so much for making time to join us.
Sure, thank you for having me.
All right, let's start off by sharing what inspired you to choose this specific research topic. Why did you see it is as important to be addressed?
Okay, that's a good question. So the whole topic is on toxic plants, and I came about it through personal reasons. I'm someone that loves nature so much. I'm into plants and things like that. But also my supervisor, Professor Stephen Lowe, he had an interest in toxic plants as a research topic. And I was like, let me just go for this, you know? Yeah, so.
All right, just give us a quick overview of your research and its significance. What have you brought to the table in terms of, I'm sure it's not the first time it's been explored, but what new knowledge have you brought to the fore that will add meaning to this ongoing topic?
Okay, so my research on toxic plants is based on one plant, which is the wild everlasting. So there has been a number of researchers on this plant, but we haven't figured out what is causing this plant to be toxic to animals, specifically our livestock such as cattle and sheep, right? So my research was based on trying to find out what exactly is causing this plant to be harmful to the animals, specifically trying to find what compounds in the plant are causing this toxicity. So yeah, basically that's the whole overview of my research.
Yeah. And what were your findings?
So what I found was that we were able to isolate and characterize a new compound from the plant that has never been found before. So that's like a very big thing in science. And we were also able to find very weird things because we were researching on the finding out how this plant impacts the animals and how it kills them and things like that. So it starts off with the animal having severe shivers or like paralysis, and after some time the animal is not going ahead with the others in this state.
Mobile, so it's immobile basically. So
we can say that in a state of depression. So animals can be depressed, you know. So after some time, these animals die, and we figured these symptoms can be related to an enzyme called acetylcholinesterase, which is responsible for neurotransmission in the brain. So our research was based on this to find out if this plant was affecting this enzyme, and what we found was that it was, but not in the way that we thought it was. Yeah.
But obviously, nature doesn't just put stuff there just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure this plant also plays a role in the ecosystem.
Yeah.
What would you classify it as? Is it an invader bush, or is it something that? But what purpose does it serve in its natural habitat? Of course, now obviously it's not just to kill livestock, but I'm sure it serves another purpose. And perhaps maybe does it only kill livestock, or can wild animals eat this and without suffering any consequences that would otherwise domestic animals would suffer?
Okay, let me start from it being as a weed. Okay. Because this plant, it only grows after the first rains of for example, this time we're in a type of drought season. So when the rain comes, these plants, they come on early. They start growing fast. So the animals, they consume these plants because they come on early, and because of so because the animals consume this, a lot of it, they die, right? So apart from it being a toxic plant to the sheep, the cattle, to livestock, I think it can also be toxic to wild animals, but it hasn't been a study of something that has been actually studied to see what kind of effect it has on the wild animals.
Yeah.
Because over the years, the research has only been on what is it doing to our livestock, right? And to us human beings, this plant hasn't really been studied in that term, but its family, other kinds of plants like this, we have essential oils that we use today that are beneficial to us.
Yeah.
So it is beneficial in a way. Just if it's toxic to animals, though, then we should also be, cautious of it.
That would be an interesting study, though, if we can indeed prove beyond reasonable doubt that other animals can consume it and nothing happens to them. Is it because the systems have evolved or whatnot? So how do these findings help us understand the ecological relationship between the wild, because this is
the wild everlasting.
The wild everlasting plant. It's Latin, so I'm not going to bother reading that. So how will this new knowledge now that you've brought to the fore, how will it help the person on the ground, like across the country? Is there anything are there any solutions being offered? Because you can't really control animals in terms of how they go out there and graze. But what can I do at least, to reduce the risk of exposing my livestock to this plant?
Okay, so farmers over the years, like especially in Southern Africa, they're aware of which plant is toxic to their animals and how to go about it sometimes, right? The only problem is sometimes the animals are oblivious to this when they're in seasons of like drought and stuff like that, right? So most of the things that farmers do is to use carbon. Okay, in general terms, they use charcoal to help with if animals went grazing and they suspect that this animal has encountered some kind of
poisonous plant or whatever the case would be.
So they give the animals charcoal or other things that can be used. But in the stem of this plant, we still don't really know what exactly can be used to
reduce the risk.
Thank you. To reduce the risk. So because my research was just based on finding what is causing the toxicity, and then we go about with another research to find out, like, okay, how do we go about with this kind of toxicity? But so the general way of handling toxic plants, such as using charcoal, those still work.
So you put the charcoal in the water?
Okay. And then the animals drink.
Maybe just another question that might be that the audience may be asking is how much of this plant does for example, a sheep or goat needs to eat to reach that toxic level? I'm sure they can eat it, but if they eat it in excess, obviously they'll overdose and die. What did the findings say in terms of your study? How much of it should they consume to reach the toxic level?
Okay, so there's no like specific amount, but then when the animals graze over it for like, let me say over 2 days, that's enough to kill them. So maybe after 2 days they've been consuming this plant. The next thing you see, they're isolating themselves from the head. They're not eating properly and things like that. They're lagging behind. They become paralyzed, and next thing you know, they're dead. And most of the time you can't really do anything when they come to the stage.
So which part of the body is affected? Is it the brain? Is it the digestive system? Which one is actually more affected? Because I'm sure they do get some sort of high from this.
Well, it's mostly, we suspect that it's a neurological thing, because the way they act is, like I said, it's a depression. They may be banging themselves in the walls and paralysis and things like that. It's matters of the mind. So that is why in my study we explored the acetylcholinesterase, one of the enzymes that are responsible for neurotransmission in the brain.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
To close with the discussion, Etuhole, just for a young person that's watching this, what's your word of encouragement for anyone who wants to venture into the field, and the difference that they could make in terms of addressing some of the problems that this field is facing? Okay,
so what I would encourage is, especially for young researchers, for example, when I came into this field, I wasn't aware of how beautiful it would be. Like you would actually be solving problems, you know. Is that there is hope, you know. If we focus on what the problems are, what problems are happening right now. For example, we see a lot of things happening. Like the other day, my father called me and said that 11 of his goats died, and they still don't know what is going on in that aspect. So if you find this kind of problems here and then, you pick it up, and you know this is a good kind of research that you can venture into, something that can help the community. You know, not just research for the sake of research.
Absolutely.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Not just research for the sake of research. Thank you so much, Etuhole. Thank you so much for shedding light on this fantastic thesis that you've done. And we wish you all the best in all your future endeavors. Maybe next time when you come, you will be Dr. Mutuleni.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
That was researcher Etuhole Mutuleni, who recently completed her master's thesis at UNAM, which focused on the wild everlasting plant, a species that is known to be toxic to livestock. Just here to share her findings and the way forward in regards to the way farmers can help reduce the risk of exposure to the wild everlasting plant to their animals. Stay tuned. You're watching NAMIBIA Connects.